Welcome back to Frankie's channel, my lovely individuals. If this is the first time you're coming across my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell though, because you will be notified about great videos that I make. And just keep on watching my other videos. Today's video is going to be about 13 reasons why. If you haven't seen the show, there are going to be spoilers, especially spoilers of the end of the show, the last episode. So do not watch this until you finish the whole series, unless you don't care and you just don't care about the show. But I very much advise y'all to go watch the show because it is a pretty good show about suicide prevention and like the steps that it takes for someone to commit suicide and how social factors and environmental factors may contribute to how someone is affected and how that may lead them to decide to end their life. So I'm gonna be doing a video today about different reasons why the counselor messed her up. The counselor fucked it up because the counselor didn't know what to do. Like, there's so many signs. As a counseling student myself, in training, I see like, oh my gosh, like what were you thinking? Why didn't you stop her? Like, it's just a lot of stuff that I will be going down. I have a list and I will be having my laptop on me just in case you're wondering why I have it. And we're gonna go through this and we're gonna figure this out together because we're gonna learn. Yes, so let's get started because I have my laptop on this section of my room so that I can read from it and I can make sure that I'm hitting all the points that I want to hit. The first thing that threw me off, and it's something that you need to be aware of in this space, like your own counseling space, and what types of images and what types of electronics you have that may interfere with the connection you're having with your client. So the first thing was that the phone rang 3 times. His cell phone rang 3 times. And apart from his cell phone ringing, he also had a phone in his office that kept ringing. Okay, that one's more acceptable, okay, it'll go off, but he could have put it on silent. His cell phone was in clear view. It was like right next to him. Like when you have a client with you, you don't want any form of interruptions because you're supposed to give your client your undivided attention, you know? Like you and the client. So like pay attention to the client because that's why they're there, especially in such a crucial moment. He needed to put that away because that was just inappropriate. He needed to put that phone somewhere else. Like, just get your life together. You know, like, no, not here. So, the next part, she says, I don't feel anything. I don't care anymore. She starts to say that, and this is very important because if someone tells you that they don't feel anything, and especially if they say I don't care anymore, it's something that they've been thinking about before. This is something that's been affecting them for a long period of time. So, I would have asked, like, what don't you care about anymore? Like, dig deeper in understanding what is affecting her and what made her feel like she just doesn't care. What does she not care about anymore? So after that, if I'm not wrong, he says, that's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like, she told him too much. So let's just focus on this. I think she talks about her parents, and then that's where they kind of go more in depth. But I wouldn't say that's a lot. As a counselor, you should be prepared to be bombarded with a whole bunch of information at once. And you should be able to nitpick the most crucial portions that are relevant to help your client. Because that's like, come on, that's what we're here for. You know, that's what a counselor is there for. Especially in the high school setting, these are adolescents. Like, they go through a lot of stuff, and that's another factor a lot of people don't seem to take into consideration. But whatever, let's keep moving. He then makes an assumption. He's like, what about your friends? This is like counseling 101. There isn't a 101 class, but this is like 101. What about your friends? To me, if a counselor tells me that, I would be like, so you're telling me to go talk to someone else? Go talk to my friends? Friends you're assuming that I have, even though I don't have a support system. You want me to go talk to them, but I'm here with you because you're supposed to be the person for me to talk to. So assuming that someone has friends is like assuming, why are you lonely? Like, you have people, you shouldn't be feeling this way. You have all these friends. Nah, no boo, get it together. So, he then makes another assumption about Clay. He says, I don't think Clay hates you because she says, Clay hates me. And then he says he's not the type of guy to do that. just because a counselor, like, do not bring your own biases about a certain person into the room because of the interactions you've had with them. The experience that you have had as an individual with a particular person, and this isn't only in counseling, this can be in general when you're engaging with other individuals. An experience you have with one person is not the same experience someone else will have with that person. And that's where the assumption comes in. The assumption of, but this is a good person, he wouldn't do anything, or these are a good group of people, they would never do anything to hurt you. But in reality, you don't know that because it's about the feelings of that individual. That, you know, it's a subjective feeling and no one can describe it but them because they're going through it. And then she says, it's like it doesn't even matter what you say, not being heard. It was not hearing. All his assumptions were making it worse because everything she said was like going through one ear and coming out the other because she was giving him so many signs saying people hate her, saying that she doesn't care anymore. And he kept backfiring. He made it seem as if he didn't want to talk. He made it seem as if this is pretty much saying this is all in your head. The amount of times that I've heard in my life, this is all in your head, you need to fix it. No. There's a lot of stuff that happens that isn't only in our heads. I mean, people need to get that together because that's not the case. If someone tells you, that's when you know you're messing up as a counselor. If someone tells you that it's like it doesn't matter what you say, it's self-reflection. So whatever I say, it's just, you know, it's not going anywhere. Apparently, I still am the problem because she clearly said before, and I didn't state this previously, she said, when they talked about the parents, she said, I feel that I'm the problem. I feel like I'm not who they want me to be. Come on, dude. You need to listen. Gosh. So, next part is, she says, I need everything to stop. People, life. This is a moment where, as a counselor, it should tick. And it should have ticked before, but if you didn't catch it before, this is reiterating. As a counselor, things will pop up again if it's really important for your client. If you miss something, it will come back if it's important. So, saying that she wants everything to stop people in life, this is where you should be like, okay, do you have suicidal thoughts, like suicide ideation, like talk about suicide, ask them, have you had any thoughts of killing yourself, hurting yourself, and make sure that they tell you any thoughts that they may be having. Have you been having any thoughts of, okay, this is the part where you ask, have you been having any form of thoughts that relate to suicide, any form of like self-hurt? What are your thoughts? What are you going through? Tell me, what are you thinking? And this is the moment where you should not let them leave the room. If they tell you stuff like this, they should stay with you until you, as a mandated reporter, as a counselor, you're a mandated reporter to talk about these things, to bring it to light, talk to the parents, talk to someone who is in charge of this minor so that they don't hurt themselves. So then the counselor got really uncomfortable and she noticed. A client will notice when you don't want to talk about something, when you're really uncomfortable in a situation, they won't know because she clearly says you don't want to talk about this. Her saying you don't want to talk about this, it's like, oh, let's just shove this to the side like every other problem I'm having as the client in my life. It's like, this is the last resort I'm coming to, and you're telling me that, like, this is the last resort I have, and you're giving me the impression that you don't want to talk to me. This just defeats the purpose. It makes someone feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel like they don't have a space to feel free to talk about their real issues that are happening to them, you know? Then next is, okay, the next part is that he makes another assumption. Okay. He says, maybe you made a decision that you regret. So instantly, he's placing the blame on the client. And this is the blame about, he pretty much asked her about like what happened at the party that night before. And this is where it gets into the consent and the non-consent when it comes to rape. In this rape cases, is another very important factor to consider when it comes to individuals who are victims of stuff like that. So he says, when he said maybe you made a decision you regret, that's another assumption. Instead of assuming something, he should have continued the conversation and focused on the emotional aspect of it, because that's where you can get more information and that's where you can build a relationship. That is the most crucial part of counseling to make progress. So then he says, maybe you consented and you changed your mind. There is a big issue within rape culture. There's a big issue where people tend to blame the victim, and they're like, oh, but you, like sentences of like people saying, oh, you wanted it, or maybe if you can't remember, then you probably consented, and they probably. There's a lot of issues with rape culture where people think that the victim is the problem, and letting them know, pretty much saying maybe you consented and you changed your mind, is pretty much saying it's your fault, you did this to yourself, you shouldn't have been there. A lot of people say this when it comes to rape culture, and a lot of like stigmas and issues that people like throw off to individuals who are victims. They say maybe you shouldn't have been there, what were you wearing? Like,
that's the most disrespectful thing ever, because
you're diminishing their experience. You're telling them that they are to blame, and that's what he did, and that was completely wrong. It was completely off. And I'm just like, no, sis, get your life. No, I'm trying to help her. Gosh. Another thing is that she was also afraid to speak up about this. She was also afraid to say who it was, because she had been victimized before. She had been victimized when it came to being perceived a certain way in the school. So she already had the label of the loose, easy girl, right? So someone telling you, oh, tell him I got raped, and he has this assumption and these thoughts of her being easy, automatically they're gonna blame the victim, because they think, oh, I mean, people say that you're easy, so that means that it's your fault, blah, 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 you wanted it. But in reality, that's not the case. We need to stop justifying rape. We need to stop justifying men who rape women, or rapists in general, and we need to stop blaming the victim, because that's just inappropriate, people. So then after that, and this is where it goes like completely downhill, he says, if you're really not sure you can press charges, there's only one option.
He says, move on.
And then she says, do nothing. You're telling her to move on. If you can't press charges, then your feelings are invalid. You didn't go through this because I don't have evidence. So, just move on. You know, and she says that he's a senior, and then he says, meaning he'll be gone in a few months. Okay, so then when he leaves, the trauma will also leave through the door? Like, that's the type of buffoonery I am talking about.
Come a little closer. Come here. If you're a counselor and you go through this and you tell someone to move on, you are just as bad as the rapist. Okay, because you are not helping them. You can't tell them to move on. The trauma doesn't move on with the rapist that leaves the school. This is a motherfucking minor. Get the shit together. Okay, what type of training did you get?
Tell me. And this may be a show, but this happens in real life, where people go to counselors and they don't know what the heck they're doing. So the show has a good representation of what actually happens, okay? In a lot of cases with counselors who just don't know what they're doing, or don't have proper training, but have licensure and certifications. Okay. So then when she gets up, she's like, okay, I'm leaving, fine. I guess the only way for me to find closure is for me to move on. And then he's like, I believe you. You don't believe her. You made it perfectly clear, and the client knew that you did not believe her. You made it perfectly clear, and you should have taken other steps. Your assumptions and your biases came across pretty crystal clear, and you should have gotten that together. So now don't be like, oh no, I believe you, and then the phone starts ringing, and he stays there. He stays in the room. He stays there. He doesn't even follow her or anything. And then she says, I guess the only other choice is for me to move on. As the counselor, I'm him, right? As the counselor, he assumed, oh, okay, she got my message. She's just gonna move on and forget about this. But her definition of moving on is her killing herself. Her stopping everything. Like she clearly said before, her stopping the people, her stopping herself from being the problem in other people's lives, and for her to stop feeling anything. So, she left the room. He didn't go and get her. And I'm just like, sis, get your life. Go over there and get her. Because when that happens, in situations like this where we think that someone is going to commit suicide or hurt themselves, we need to sit them down, especially a minor, and call their parents. Call their parents, because this is crucial and could have been prevented. And the last final thing, recap everything, is, and this is also a counseling 101 thing, telling your clients what to do. You don't tell your clients to move on. You don't tell them to move on. You don't tell them what to do. Counseling is not telling someone what to do. This isn't a kiki. This is,
oh, this is my friend over here. We gonna talk. Okay, friend, what should I do? Oh, you should dump him. You should dump her. We're not friends.
we're building a relationship where we can develop each other in a positive way, and I can help you. You know, I'm here to help you with whatever you need. I'm not your friend because your friend will just tell you what to do. I'm not a friend, I am your counselor, and we're building a relationship. And that is the first thing that we're taught in counseling school, wow, in graduate school, is to not tell clients what to do. We have to lead them to come up with their own conclusions, because a lot of times they know what they want, but they want someone else to verify it. They want someone else to be on the same page and to make them feel like they're not alone in their thoughts. So thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button, of course. And once again, if you're new, go hit that subscribe button, because I will be glad to have you into my family. And once again, this channel is just for me to do a lot of random videos. So if you go down the videos, you'll see I do a lot of random stuff, and it's more about my life and reflection on who I will be in the future, and just to look back and have memories. So thank you again, thank you for watching, and have a great one.